Welcome back to Waaaghtaktiks. Here we have the biggest, the bestest tier list. And we have one of the biggest, best guests we could possibly have. Member of Team America, Eric Forsman. So Eric Forsman, welcome to Waaaghtaktiks. Welcome to our tier list video. I really like your point of view as it's quite different than mine based off your meta and what you play.
Thank you for having me, man. I love the show, man. I'm glad to be here, dude.
Fantastic. So anybody in chats, you guys know, super chats will directly respond to. Chats as a whole, we can kind of go back and forth near the end and such. But other than that, we're just going to get straight into it. So first, I'm just going to start with the hot sauce. People who want to know what's going on with this kit. Tell me about the Big Mac. You know, where do you find the Big Mac to be, you personally? I have some strong opinions about him, but I'd like to hear yours because I'm sure the community's heard mine a couple times.
So Big Mac does have a place for sure. Me personally, I'm an old school orc man. I like the knives. I love the orc combat. That's my favorite part of the Green Boys. So Big Mac has a big appeal to the range side of the orcs, which it's nice to either have the balance or when you're in full range, they send. So for me, Big Mac is not very high on my list because it's just not my style, right? But I know that a lot of people that are playing the Dreads, that are playing the Speed Freaks, they do have a home and they do like the Big Mac. So I want to hear your take on it because I appreciate that other side. As for a little context, I am a very much combat oriented orc, charge onto objectives, ruin your life up close. You get this intimate little moments.
Could you
right?
Could you elaborate with me? What do you mean by the speed wall? That's something where I actually don't consider him. So when I look at the Big Mac and I look at his data sheet, I say he's not ideal in shooting. He can kind of get off on some targets, like, you know, let's say a Catan, wouldn't like to see him necessarily. But all in all, he's more about his data sheet ability of mobility, running through models and such. There's the argument for putting him with a mech gun and walking him through terrain. But actually, the big way I see him is the Big Mac, you know, because I'm talking about this get right here, the new model Big Mac. I see him in the Warhorde actually, because giving him follow me lads and here we go, so he can actually optimize his mobility, disembark from a transport, maybe whatever it may be. So that's the only way I can actually see him using his datasheet ability, which is what most people find the appeal to him.
So
how have you seen him being used?
My only downside with that is that you're talking about, I assume, putting him on Nobz.
Yeah, I mean, not Nobz. It's just in general, wherever you put him to use his mobility. Nobz have to get a Warboss, so it's hard to say that. And that's the other point of view. If you're not putting him with Nobz, what are you putting him with, right?
He can only go with boys. It's boys, Lootas, mech guns, or Nobz. So, like, there is an appeal to getting the knob more mobility to get where it needs to go, especially because you can use it at different times. But like the big unit of boys can go. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I could see like Big Mech Boys Painboss, right? I could see that happening.
I'm just gonna say that right off the bat, I'm putting him as a grot. I don't think between the leader units, like you said, he can go with Nobz. No knob in their right mind is not taking a Warboss. With the boys, you're probably still taking a Warboss and or just straight naked for the appeal of they're cheaper and they're for sticky objectives. If you're gonna take a mech, that's the mech guns, that's the other point of view. Yet mech guns seem to only be appealing in something like a Dread WAAAGH. So if you're gonna be in the Dread mob, if you're specific to one detachment and really only ideal in one or two units like Lootas or mechs, then you automatically don't really qualify for the top tiers, in my opinion, the top two tiers. So you either fall somewhere in the middle or somewhere lower. And if I can replace you with a Shokk Attack Gun or a simple mech, that means you're not the number one spot for looters or mech.
I will say that man, though, does have a big range where he could prove us wrong and end up being a good lad or a good Nobz there, right? He could find himself up some tiers if people find some good uses for him.
He could, but I'm gonna say a little bit on the safe side. Like you said, he's not my cup. I'm not a shooting orc. You know, I'm more of a melee as well for the most part. I do like walkers. I do like mobs of boys a lot. But with all that being said, you know, if I'm taking a Luta, if I'm taking a mech gun, I'm probably more likely to bring the big mech with Shokk Attack Gun. Just all in all, more shots, a little cheaper, you know, and really his only appeal is I could walk through a building if you let me.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you, man. Grot's a good home for him.
So with that being said, I'm gonna start off with someone everybody else is hot with. How about boss Snikrot? Dude, lone op finally got where he should be.
Dude, I have been hoping that this man would get some love in this new book. The moment I saw it, I was in love immediately. It does so many things, and here's the reason why Snikrot is so stellar to me is because no matter what detachment you're playing, he fills a role for you. If you're playing the hunt and you have the scouting boss, which we know you're taking the scouting boss if you're playing the hunt, you need Snikrot out there potentially clearing a path for you against other armies that infiltrate.
Yeah.
If you are playing, you know, bully boys, you're playing the warhorde, you want to be putting some pressure on, you may not necessarily want to jam onto that natural expansion objective right away. Snikrot is such a monster for taking care of the little problems that you may not want to do during your first turn of setup. That man does it. And then the moment you're done using him for that role, when you've filled out the board with orcs, you reposition him somewhere else. And he's got the good one too, the good redeploy in the movement phase. Like, there's nothing this man can't do. I have one being painted by a very good friend to a high level as a gift. I'm super excited. I have plugged him into just about every orc list I'm running. This man is the best in my book. You tell me what you think, man. I'm excited.
That's actually exactly right now. While we talk, I'm gonna put him in the best just because it shouldn't surprise anybody. I would like for you to elaborate on with the term natural expansion, right? But what I want to say is when you bring up his ability to be pulled off reserve, it means that he can score his second in the end of the movement or during his movement, excuse me. It means that he can actually do some of the secondary score for you and then pull himself. And that's actually why it's the best version of redeploy. He can be in position to score and then he can end up moving on. What do you mean exactly by natural expansion for anybody who hasn't heard that term?
Yeah, so let's say we're playing Search and Destroy where we have the 5 objectives. A lot of people, armies, games, your objective directly north of your deployment zone. That's the closest objective to where you are. A lot of people are turning those deployments hammer and anvil, and they kind of end up fighting hammer and anvil on those tables. So your natural expansion is the easiest objective for your army to essentially naturally take over as you progress on the table. That doesn't necessarily mean that's where you want to park your trucks before you're going to WAAAGH and ruin some lives. You know what I mean? So if I can park my trucks mid-board where I'm in a lot of safe places to be, and Snikrot can hang out on that natural expansion as a lone op and just kind of flex at people with knives, man, that man does exactly what I wanted orcs to have. I'm excited. I'm like auto plugging him in everything.
He's auto plugged in on my list, and because he's a lone op, that's exactly why he can assist with your natural expansion. So no doubt, Snikrot's going into best. Shouldn't catch anybody off guard. But you know what did catch me off guard? The Beastboss on foot right here. This lad coming down back 20 points from 100 to 80. Okay, so as some people know, at the beginning of Index, he was 80 points. He was auto-plugged on everybody's list. He was sometimes brought in trios, in doubles, running around, delivering his dev wounds. How do you feel about the Beastboss on foot now? We do lack anti-tank for the most part, so a lot of people see him as our anti-tank problem, with Squigs being in the new, in the new range. We'll talk about that a little bit, but how do you feel about Beastboss on foot? This is something that I don't see people talking about, but I was happy he came down 20 points.
So let me start by saying this might be my favorite model in all of 40k. Beastboss, like, the dude has just covered with textures. He has this big sword. He's got the dude might be my favorite model in all of 40k, which is crazy. He's a small dude, but he might be my #1 favorite. I'm a huge Beastboss fan previously, and going forward, I think Beastboss super strong, but in a home, right? So where Snikrot, I'm kind of auto starting every list with Snikrot goes in, I'm going to make use for him. I think Beastboss is amazingly powerful in a lot of lists, but he's not auto going in every list. I think if you're with me, the best has to be the best boy everywhere, every time, no matter what. Mozrog last in index. You know what I mean? Mozrog made every index list. Beastboss, super strong. You know, you love him in the hunt. I think he has a home in index in certain lists. I think he has a home in bullies. But I think they dropped him because they know, you know, you're not sending him with Snaggas. You have a lot of good options. We're very spoiled as orcs right now. It's crazy to say this man's not quite good enough at 85 points.
Right.
Any other book would just snap take him.
Yeah, that's true.
But I feel like you're not auto plugging him, but man, he achieves his job is buff that unit to the T and take down those vehicles, and he does that job.
So I would say when you're looking at these tiers, right, mid tier being lads means if I use this is how I'm going to break down the tiers for anybody watching in my head. Runts mean you have essentially no playability, you're just kind of existing for fun. Grots mean you can be figured out, but it does take some work and it's very limited and niche. Lads means that you can be put into multiple points, but there's other people that can fill your job almost equally as well, or a not necessary job. Nobz comes into the play where you can be put on, well, and lads means you can probably go on one detachment kind of reliably. Nobz is where you kind of, you know, second tier, we'll call it A tier, not S tier in the tier list, is where you end up being able to be in 1, 2, maximum 3, but probably 2 detachments and be a very reliable outcome. That's why I see him in Warhorde and I see him in the Hunt, right? The reason I see him in Warhorde is because when you stick him with his boys and you give him critical 5s and you re-roll that hit roll to fish for more 5s and 6s while you're hitting on 2s, you can spike him. That's really why I like him in Warhorde. And why I like him in the Hunt is because you can get proper killing and get him to damage 3, which offsets and damage reduction, helps be more assured outcomes into other things where you can actually and you can still pop the Hunt critical 5s on your target and still fish for the same thing, right? So I would say he's at the top of Nobz as of at this moment. So I'm going to go ahead and leave him at A tier, top of Nobz, feeling really good. But another guy who felt really good for everybody for most of the indexes, the Weirdboy. So Weirdboy was used a lot as a single individual character. We didn't have a lone app, so him and Snikrot kind of alternated who you would want to pick and why. He would help you score your secondaries. Once in a while, he would throw boys up the field. Now he's appealing for the Green Tide to throw him up the field. Where do you find your Weirdboy? Does he even make his way onto your list anymore, with Snikrot being a lone op is really where I'm just going to get off the bat and say, right? Snikrot is a lone op.
Firstly, I love Green Tide. Green Tide is we're so spoiled, dude. This book is so righteous. Green Tide is such a good detachment, and every single list I make has double Weirdboy, simply because when you have that whole plan set up and you roll that 1, you got to have a backup plan. You have that second Weirdboy that ideally you're not rolling 1 into 1, right? So
I think, does it still say that you can't roll them both at the same time, and that's why you probably bring Snikrot too, in case?
Well, no, 2 separate units, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if one unit sends the other and fails, the other man takes his test and gets to go.
Okay. And I know you also have Snikrot on your list, huh? So that's multiple guys that are trying to do.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No, you're right. Yeah, no, the jump is now just one man can do it. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I was sorry, I pulled it up to be churn. But either way, that's where the Snikrot redundancy comes into play. Where if this guy fails, or you really need assured, Snikrot can do it, and then you can attempt with this guy. But it is at the end of the movement, at the end of your movement phase. Just so I can read to anybody watching. Once per turn at the end of your movement phase, one Weirdboy from your army can use this ability. So he has to roll for it, and then he can essentially deep strike.
Yep, right there on the spot. I still think you're still taking 2, because a lot of times you're sending that early jump to gunk everything up, and then you have a gunk later on, like you're jumping later on when you could strat and be +4 to charge. Plus, like when you turn 5 jump and you're rolling a 4, it's pretty wild.
So you're saying for Green Tide specifically here, though?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because I don't have him in any detachment but Green Tide currently.
Exactly.
So I think that kind of holds him into lads category, where he's in every Green Tide list, but only Green Tide lists.
Yes. I think Snikrot getting Lone Op kind of created that gap of I don't need another Weirdboy or don't need that Lone Op Weirdboy, that lone individual Weirdboy. Snikrot can do it. Do I still see an appeal once in a while, depending on your meta and what you're trying to do? Could you bring a Weirdboy and Snikrot, solo Weirdboy? Yes. But for the most part, he really finds his home in Green Tide. And I do think you do want to throw up one of those mob of boy units to kind of gun people up. And it's not necessarily because they're going to survive or take that long to kill. It's actually because you want to mitigate their movement and their firing lanes and their staging position so that you can stage with your boys and your mobs, right? The last thing you want is multiple activations into a single mob of boys. Therefore, you need to limit how many activations happen in that way, and the Weirdboy being thrown up with the green head-ups helps that. That being said, he ends up being somewhere in the middle for that reason, because it's really just Green Tide, and because, like you said, we are so privileged with so many options, Weirdboy just doesn't end up making it on this list, in my opinion, and other detachments. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the Weirdboy here for now, but I would say he's definitely near the top of lads, because you know, where's the meta adjust, he might fall into A tier, right? Just because so many people on the top level of games were constantly kind of trying to use him. So I'm gonna leave him there, unless you want to dispute that for some reason, sir.
No, that's the right place. That's certainly the right place.
So how about the Painboss? What's going on with him, dude? No, look at your face, dude. Look at that facial expression, dude. Just gave it away, dude.
Dude,
God, we ain't got to talk about it, guys. Look at his face when I said Painboss. Rewind that.
I'm sad.
The Painboss just took a straight dive. I mean, you know, because his his friends right here, Mozrog and the Beastboss on Squigasaur, they took a dive. So that being said, one of his datasheet abilities almost becomes irrelevant, because if your leader took wounds when he's leading a unit of Squighog Boys, are you even near him to heal them? Does that even make sense? It's not really a natural rule that will ever come into play. So paying 60 points, which is quite cheap, I really appreciate that. If the Painboy was 60 points, that'd be fantastic. Other than that, I would say Painboss is going to sit at, I mean, if he's not at the end of Grots, he's definitely at the top of runs.
So the main problem with the Painboss is on the Snagga data sheet. And that is Snaggas are not like boys. They don't get to take 2 leaders. Boys get to take 2. If Snaggas, you could throw a 20-man and you could take Beastboss and a Painboss, then absolutely we're slamming full rerolls into monsters and vehicles. But right, that we're limited by the data sheet that he can attach to.
For 40 points more, you're paying for the Beastboss for +1 to hit and dev wounds. End of story.
Without doubt, yeah. Like it's just happening.
I'm not paying 60 points for just a +1 to my feel no pain at 1 wound models. I don't think anybody's gonna argue. Of course, one of you guys out there is like, I like him in the Gruts. I'm sorry, I'm gonna leave him in runts, because as we go through this tier list, he's not gonna supersede anybody. But what we can talk about is his counterpart. How is the Painboy? And yes, you're right, Zach. He's only 20 points now because he got his change. See, look at that. Right away, I forgot. Even 20 points. Goodness, for Beastboss on foot. So how about the Painboy?
I like Painboy. I think Painboy.
But do you like him only in the Green Tide, though, is what I want to hear.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, I see. I think a lot of people look at Bully Boys and they see like Nobz, Meganobz, end of story. I think Bully Boy's still good with lots of boys and big Snagga unit. I think you have a place for 20-man boys with a Painboss and a Warboss in other detachments outside of Green Tide. And I do think that if you're putting Weirdboy there, that you're probably putting Painboy ahead, just because you're going to see Painboy in other detachments than the Green Tide, and you are very likely only going to see the Weirdboy in the Green Tide detachment.
Yeah,
right. Sure. So like for that reason, like I think if we look at the amount that we'll see each one played, we will certainly almost guaranteed see more Painboys than Weirdboys hit lists for that reason.
So he's hitting multiple detachments. We're going to say, I'm going to automatically say Green Tide. Here's the thing. Boys and a single mob of boys can go in multiple detachments. How useful is a mob of boys? If you haven't seen our how to use a mob of boys video, I recommend you use that because there's a that was awesome. All right, sorry. We got to add and then start yelling. So
Wild.
I would say almost multiple detachments can maximize a 20 boy mob unit, right? Yeah. And it really comes down to, can you as the individual player maximize that 20 boy mob unit? That's actually where I find the Painboy finding his value and finding his place. I would say he's very much probably at the end of Nobz, if not at the top of Lads, somewhere in the middle or higher.
He's right ahead of Weirdboy. He's right ahead of Weirdboy. I don't know what we're gonna have come down the line, but I think very similar roles, not the same. Painboy's better, and
you're not ready to put him in Nobz? Not ready to put him up as a big boy, or you got to keep him here as Lads? Final call.
I think he's going to be top. I think we're going to see more specialized use out of him. I think we're not going to see as many people plug him in, but the people that do are going to love it. Don't get me wrong.
I think people who can maximize a Weirdboy, a 20-man unit of boys, really swing them around the battlefield, trying to retain their resiliency, maybe even dipping back into Warhorde. So I could argue he's at the end of Nobz, but for now I'm going to keep him at the top of Lads, right around mid-tier. But as we'll revisit this list once we're done completing it, and then we'll reevaluate if anybody needs a promotion, right?
All right.
What about the Deffkilla Wartrike? So Deffkilla Wartrike really found a home and Warhorde with this 4-up Feel No Pain. We know the Cult of Speed, the speed mob has come around. Does he really find any more relevance, or is he falling off the wayside?
It's a tough one. That's a tough one. I've seen a lot of people cut him from their Horde list. I still like him with the 4-up Feel No Pain. He's quick. I haven't tested any games with the speed mob yet. The speed freaks. Okay. I know fire and fading pretty good. What do you have this man at?
Honestly, dude, I think I would. I know some of the people in chat might go hard on me. If it's the only thing I can see his value for is the firing fade, and that's more of mission play, yet everything else is going for mission play. Other than that, he has no value in speed freaks. He can't really punch that well. If you've ever really played with him and you're trying to deploy a 6-man unit of bikers and him, it's very difficult to deploy him without getting shot at range turn 1 if you don't go first. So I really found a lot of value in him having a 4-up Feel No Pain in Warhorde, and you can even run him alone for that reason. That being said, I'm going to leave him in Lads because he will be useful in the speed wall to be able to shoot and move, and he's now our only leader in that detachment. Having access to a cheap 4-up Feel No Pain is fantastic in Warhorde, but I'm going to go ahead and say he's probably at the end of mid-tier, in my opinion. Just people are going to have a lot of things to do, but he's great for his scoring potential, delaying the enemy, fighting for objectives, drawing attention. Other than that, he's really just, hey, I'm going to fire and fade with these really non-optimal guns. I'm really not going to kill much, but I'm going to be here. And that's really all he does.
I think he's pretty dang good in a Speed Freaks attachment, right? The Squighog tires can 6-inch consolidate on a skirmishing unit. They can tag someone well off an objective and 6-inch consolidate back onto it. Super powerful. I think if I was going to run Speed Freaks tomorrow, I would probably be taking 2 of them. 80 points for a skirmishing dude like that can auto advance with assault is pretty wild. And he has Speed Freaks keyword, so 1 CP plus 1 to wound is pretty nuts. So I'm with you, bottom of Lads, but I do think the man still bangs. And if we're talking about 80-point skirmishing units fighting the perimeter while the big boys do the work in the middle, I think you're hard pressed to tell me another unit for 80 points in the game that does the type of work this man does.
Exactly. But that's him alone, right? And that's what the caveat I said, him alone. Once you start adding bikers to his list, sure, I do feel nice sometimes when I'm getting hit with autocannons and I can tank that and he doesn't have to eat that, or maybe a Melta comes out of nowhere. But Other than that, the profile he ends up taking up is quite huge, right? So it's really him by himself trying to get things off. And you're talking about running into maybe a scout unit and beating it up. I mean, you got 4 attacks. You're not even finishing off the scout unit, right? You're not sustained anymore, my guy. So it's really just, you know, I understand where people can love him because his auto advancing 6 feels fantastic, but there's no way I'm putting him higher than lads. We'll just say that, right? Between every circumstance that he can come up, he's saying lads, just like you said. And I think most of us can agree with that.
He's still tight, though.
He's
you only need to kill 2 scouts. He's OC3, right? You killed 2 scouts.
Yeah, there you go.
You take those primary, baby.
You denied the primary. You just won the game, baby. I do love it.
He's a great skirmisher. Yeah.
4 of Feel No Pain. 4 of Feel No Pain. I'm gonna put him ahead of Weirdboy.
I think Weirdboy still, but you're right. He's still bottom of lads, but the man is legit. We're lucky. We have an 80-point dude that does all that.
That can have a 4 up Feel No Pain with 9 wounds, 5 up invuln. Come on, dude. That's fantastic. I love that whenever I ran him.
Oh, yeah.
How about another contentious guy that we can argue about? Zodgrod. So I know some people are really high on this guy because we lost flash kits. We need board presence. Some people want to scout ahead and do certain things. And, you know, we like to talk about we'll call it the leapfrog with Zod or the Wortsnagga. Right, the leapfrog maneuver, if people haven't heard, is you scout 9, you disembark Zod in his unit, you move another unit of orcs within 3 of the transport, they jump into the transport, and then the transport moves on turn 1, right? Sure, you can do that. I think you're paying quite a premium to move, and I think that's really terrain dependent. On GW terrain, I don't see a spot where he's going to be optimal there, other than maybe one flank on the objective on certain missions. Other than that, I'm not sure if I'm trying to play a battle wagon premium for a scout, for a truck to transport and move these guys forward. Am I missing something here? How do you feel about this?
Man, all these rules, right? They should be good. So, you know what I mean? They have so many rules. They should be good.
Dude, the way you just said that summed it up so well. So many rules. I could have sworn he's good.
Right, I know. I feel like this man should be the best. It's hard in a book filled with so many competent units to justify the price tag of 160. I think the best use of this man is just grab the 20 and you've got a lot of OC that's very fast midboard. I think if we are going to see a home for this man, you are green trickle. I think if we are going to see a home for this man, honestly, the home for this man is probably in Bully Boys, where you have Nobz and Meganobz that are really durable and tough, but do not have the OC to back it. And you can throw this out there and kind of spill OC all over the table to make sure no one's stealing your objectives while you're just the most durable unit in the game. But you can just do that with 40-point Gretchin running out of trucks, right? You don't have to pay for all that. So
it's like you're trying to convince people to spend the extra tax to get some more finesse, when in reality, we're just kind of running at you and punching you up and staging. Like, orcs are pretty fair army in 40k. Sometimes praying for shenanigans isn't going to pay out, in my opinion.
You'd be hard-pressed to sell me this man over just 22 more Gretchin.
Yeah, and you already have Snikrot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you already have Snikrot kind of doing his thing. Snikrot ends the key for this guy, but then who else is the leaders on your list? You're gonna have 1,000 points of characters at this point. Come on, bro. 80 points is too much. If he dropped to 60, like the Painboss, I'd entertain this conversation, because then it's 100 points flat for him and a unit of Grots. I'll entertain that much more. Where do you see him? Grots or lads or?
I mean, it has to be Grots, because Runts is like, you'll just never take him ever. I could see people getting some shenanigans out. I don't think he's terrible. Yeah, he's probably the bottom of. I would see him. You're at 80 points, man. You get 22 Gretchin. You'll never sell me. You'll never sell me.
Yeah, that's really what it is. 80 points. Come on, dude. And he got no invuln. He does have a Feel No Pain. He does have the -1 when he's being led by Grots. But here's the thing, guys. You're going to give up Assassinate, no prisoners, and what else could we bring up? There was another one that he kind of gives up just being in that unit, right? I mean, it's him and Grots. You're going to give up double units for no prisoner if you kill him, and you're going to give up Assassinate for him just being there as a soft target with no invuln. Let's just be clear on that.
It's hard too because when he's not that beefy because when he's leading the Grots, he's T2. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Everybody's getting wounded a bunch, and he doesn't have the invuln.
Yeah,
So as soon as someone puts AP through him, just chops through him.
Just says bye. So
yeah. So I get why people feel that way. I'm gonna just say at the moment he's sitting at Grots. I can understand all the arguments you make for it, but in the end of the day, practicality for 80 points is not where it's at. Make him 60, and we can have this conversation again.
If somebody out there smashes with that Rasta, man, tell me. I want to see it.
We've seen it prior. Like I've seen it once every couple months when I covered GT performance list. I'd see him once in a Great WAAAGH, but other than that, nah.
Right.
And shout out to Wicked Joe for 5 gifted memberships. Whoa, let's go, Gifted Joe. If you're a gray lad sitting in there looking like a basic Humi, go ahead and collect that membership because Joe just hooked you up so you can become a runt and then a squig and then a boy, a proper lad. So thank you very much, Wicked Joe. Now, something that people are hyped up about. Big Mag with Shokk Attack Gun. Automatically, I'm going to say, just in case anybody wants to jump on my head, Lootas, fantastic. Him with Lootas, excuse me, is fantastic. You know, his strength is not where I want it to be, his strength 9, but, you know, the range and giving the mech capability to the Lootas in the Dread Mob, boom, ideal. Giving him ignore cover, that's fantastic. But how do you actually feel about him in the practical sense? You do play on, I think you said UKTC or what kind of terrain?
So I mostly play WTC terrain. I'm a very fixated meta focus. People say, "Oh, you know, Team USA." I don't really know much about the American singles meta. I really don't. I look at things from a team's perspective, which is very different. So singles, you have to go in and you have to face the entire meta. A lot of times in teams, you go in and you know, hey, this is my worst matchup. I'm probably never going to get it. And also, this is my best matchup. I'm probably never getting that either. So, you know what I mean? People are going to dodge you if you smash them. So I am mostly WTC, which is pretty friendly to orcs. A lot of the Euros don't typically respect the orcs and the world eaters because UKTC is hard to be really profitable with melee. But WTC terrain pretty packed. Again, big mech Shokk Attack Gun. Tough for me to
look. I'll just say before you go into it, I'll say where my stand on this. I play on GW terrain. Most terrains I play on, you're not going to have a second floor line of sight to look at any of the objectives for the most part. If you do, you're going to only see with some of your Lootas because the rest aren't going to actually be able to see. And you're going to have to spend a turn kind of staging up in terrain. First floor line of sight completely blocked. So it's really just, I hope I pop out, look at an objective, get rerolls to hits on there, and then I get going. So you're pretty much paying 175 or 185 because you're playing for ignore cover for the chance for the Lootas to go off. And then after they go off, they're going to take hazardous rerolls and kill themselves.
Yeah, man. My other thing is like, if you're joining Lootas, you're conflicting abilities.
Because reroll ones and full rerolls, right?
Yeah, so like we're conflicting abilities there. So pretty tough for me to say, hey, this man has to go with this unit. Check it out. They're full rerolls to hit, but they're also reroll ones to hit.
Yeah,
pretty difficult to justify
that. I say okay, right off the bat, so you guys know how I feel about this. If you get plunging fire, if you can overwatch an objective, if you can stage on the second floor and actually see something, Lootas, Big Mac, Shokk Attack Gun, I understand your point of view. But for the rest of the world, for some competitive scenes and or just people who don't play on the type of terrain, it's almost a non-playable combination. Just straight out flaying it, which means you cannot put him any higher than lads. If not, you put him in Grots because putting him with the shock on mech guns is another thing that you're only going to bring mech guns if you're playing Dread Mob for the most part. I mean, I don't see them finding a place either, as we'll go into that in a bit. So Shokk Attack Gun, because his leadership ability isn't -1 to hit, I kind of want to put him in Grots. He doesn't really find his way into a lot of my lists, but as the world list as a whole, he might be at the end of lads. Where do you kind of see him in this?
I think you're going to be finding this man make less and less list as people test and test more. I think they're going to see units independent of characters like that. And I think that if you want the enhancements, you're almost better off just paying half points for a mech. Like that's kind of just the baby mech, right? Plus, they can also, the baby mech seems to just do everything the big mech does, but even better, right? Which I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but like we're talking about big mech gun, big mech, like big mech, Shokk Attack. Baby mech does the same thing, has the same enhancements, attaches to the same units, not conflicting buffs, as well as can buff the other, like you have your Gorkanaut or your Stompa or whatever nearby, still can buff those at the same time. So not stuck. So I feel like you have to sell me. You got to show me why it's worth taking this man over 2 mechs. You're just gonna have to prove it.
I would say in your casual terrain with you at home, or maybe if you're playing on non-official tournament terrain and you can get that line of sight, you can stack those enhancements on him so you can really get the most out of him. I could totally understand why you love him. Other than those strict conditions and you and your personal, which I appreciate you guys, personal points of view and success, I would say he's no higher than the end of lads, if not the top of runts. Like Eric just said, he can do half the points. You could do everything else and still stack the enhancements on him and not becoming a ridiculous price points. Mind you, those Lootas are still going to start taking hazardous rolls and start blowing themselves up, right? Straight off the bat. You can do press it faster so that you can actually get 2 abilities on him and then they could possibly go off. But then, like I said, you are starting to die with your 1 wound models, and it's kind of like a 1-turn go thing. And you're also dropping a bunch of CP in the Dread Mob into him to get him to work with the Lootas. And sometimes in Dread Mob, you just have other better options. So I'm going to leave him right now at the end of lads. When we revisit this, he might end up in Grots, but that's where I'm going to put him right now. Just because we're considering the casual, not the top tier meta only. But if we're talking about top tier, he definitely does drops off into Grots. I'll just say that right off the bat. But what about mechs? We already kind of touched them. Baby mech.
I mean, mech's gotta be auto. Mech's gotta be auto, lad, right? Because there is 1 of 6 detachments. You're just not running without mechs.
Yes.
Like, and you're running, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. Like minimum, I think minimum 2. So, and maybe even 3, depending. Like in the Dread Mob, which again, that's one part of Orks that I have not been testing, but the other boys have, and they like it. And from an outside perspective, that detachment is terrifying.
I like it, dude. Yeah. I've been testing. That's one I've been testing on the most, probably, because I just really love using different things. I'm going to say mech because he's a hard auto take in Dread Mob. He has to be a lad. His point cost is appropriate. The fact that you can stack enhancements on him and stick him with Lootas feels good as well. So I'm going to say he's kind of like the Weirdboy, where you're like, I could see him being another detachment. I can see myself putting flash kits in the truck, coming in from reserves. He gives them +1 to hit. They shoot. I have a different kind of mobile shooting platform. Sure, I can see that happening too. But for the most part, he's just secured in 1 detachment, would automatically puts him in mid tier because he always will find a home at least there, right? Now, someone who always finds a home everywhere, the Warboss. Where are we going with the Warboss, dude? Do I the best? I mean, I don't think anybody wants to argue with me about him being the best. Is that even in contention? I mean, what's up?
I mean, if you're running Dread Mob, maybe you don't have a Warboss. Maybe.
Or maybe you're a crazy git and you put 20 in a Stompa and you have him jump out with the Stompa. That being said, if you're ever running 20 unit of boys, maybe even a 10-man unit of boys, people could argue a basic Warboss. I mean, you could have the skirmish unit of a Warboss with 5 Nobz, and that could be in Dread Mob, just so you can have something that can reliably punch infantry and move through terrain, right? Because if you go Dread Mob and you go heavy only into the mechs and trying to shoot, you're starting to become susceptible to move blocking, reactive moves that block you, all these different things. You do kind of want something that can skirmish. I argue he can end up in 3 of the detachments, if not more.
I think Zakading is right, man. I mean, the only argument is that he does not go in the big hunt, but like I'm kind of auto plugging this man in multiples in every detachment.
For
Like
sure.
Warboss with 5 knobs is like we're on point with any other combat threat in the game for damage output. We're talking 29 attacks of AP2 2 damage. That is bananas. That is crazy output
And
for that unit.
Warboss giving him double benefits is such a privilege. 1+1 to hit and -1 to wound if you're stronger than his weapons, is stronger than their toughness. I appreciate that. Warboss, no question. No one's gonna argue and fight us. If you want, we'll knock your teeth out. Warboss goes to number 1.
Yeah.
Or at least number 1 tier. S tier for now.
I mean, does he hold on?
Oh,
Does he go over the man just because
over Snikrot?
I mean,
No, he doesn't go over Snikrot. I'm gonna leave him right behind Snikrot because I think Snikrot makes every detachment. I put Snikrot in the hunt, dude. What's up?
Right. All right, that's fair. That's fair. Snikrot goes everywhere.
Snikrot literally goes everywhere.
All right, let me ask you this though: if Snikrot wasn't epic, how many would you take?
Oh, dude, what the heck?
Why would you do that?
We'll talk about that at the end.
All right, let's go.
I'll take all of them. No, I'm just kidding. So we have. Let's talk about another mech, big mech in Mega Armour. So this guy went up. I think he was 15 points because he was 85, I believe. So what's up with big mech in Mega Armour, dude? He's 100 points flat. I don't know. That's feeling a bit pricey. How you feeling? You know, but he has his home. He's no less than a lad. Meganobz are super good. But really, where is he when we're talking about these 3 points of view?
Why do you got to do this to me? All right, everyone, listen. Warboss in Mega Armour is outrageous. In my opinion, Meganobz belong with the Warboss in Mega Armour. Period. But you definitely have a home for the big mech in Mega Armour because there are times when the Meganobz are not meant to just run out there and be the absolute hammer that you want them to be. Damage 3 Warboss Mega Armour, insane, so good. There are times when you just need the beef to sit there and be the one holding that objective. Or I have one Meganobz out. The revive gives you an opportunity to do some awful things to people. Not many people can take a look at 5 or 6 Meganobz with a Warboss, with a 5-up, with potentially access to armor or contempt or -1 to wound. Take one look at them and then kill that whole unit before you pull one model from behind the wall and then revive on the objective to score it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
That man has a place. He's not my favorite at all, but he's not bad.
Hey, Green Tide, Ruckus Warcaller, rerolling one's the wound, reroll saving throws of 1. Just throwing that out there because everybody loves that. I know the people are gonna throw that in the comments at some point. Him with Ruckus Warcaller feels fantastic, but you understand he's eating all of the anti-tank shots as well, right? That's why you do have to use him a bit cagey, like Eric said. Bait him out, get 1, maybe 2 activations off on the unit, pull the model that they activated on, and then continue to actually regen him up the field, heal whoever got hurt in the remainder, and continue to play the mission. There are some good points for if you bring him with certain enhancements that make him take morale checks. We'll say like super glowy thing and dread mob could be interesting. You know, there's people could take -1. I think from the battle shock. Is that what it is? The unit must take a battle shock. It's not -1, but you could take a unit from battle shock. That could become interesting. But you're talking about circumstantial situations when you start stacking different buffs on him and making him even more pricey, like Ruckus Warcaller, stuff like that, giving him all these different enhancements. Therefore, I would say he's totally good because Meganobz are super good. I would put him as Nob, but you're only going to bring 1. Like, I don't see anybody paying out for multiple, in my opinion.
I mean, people do. I know people that are. I just argue with them, and I think they're wrong. But that's okay, right?
That's kind of how I feel too. But that's why I put him in Nob because he can go in multiple detachments. He can be brought at least 1 time, if not multiple times. I know you're right. Some people, I can think of one guy that's respected off the top of my head, Bradchester, shout out. He's thinking about bringing 2 sometimes, but
nah, I talked to him earlier. I told him I put him back on War Mob.
Okay, so you did say, okay, we're both talking.
Put him back on Warhorde. Yeah,
good. We're both agreement. So I'm leaving him as Nobz. Bradchester, I love you. You're creative, but he cannot be brought more than once in a list. In my opinion, his maneuver is to be an anvil, right? If you're talking about a hammer,
lads.
What's up?
Is he top of lads?
Top of lads. My goodness. Now you're being insulting, dude. You want to just put everything?
Is he the best lad?
He's probably the best lad.
Here's the thing. Here's the only thing. We have a lot of knobs coming up, bro. There's a lot of units coming up that are going knob. This man might be bottom of knobs, top of lads. I don't know.
That's exactly how I feel. We'll revisit it because I have a little respect. I'm gonna put him at knobs for now, but we'll get back to him. Okay, we'll get back to him. So we'll get back. Like I said, we'll revisit this. He might need to be shuffled down, but like you said, I do think he's either at the back of knobs or he's at the top of lads, because I only ever see myself bringing one, and I feel sometimes good, and sometimes I'm like, should I just be a Warboss? So real quick with these last couple gets, because these are kind of obvious-ish. Beastboss on Squigasaur. How you feeling about this guy?
Man, this lad is a lad.
Gosh, you're putting him as a lad. I only put him as a lad because he's coming in the hunt with Scout. Hypothetically, you could put him in Warhorde, maybe upgrade him to a 4-up, feel no pain. Still give him -1 to wound for a strat, but it's like his offensive output just doesn't exist unless you give him Head Wappa's Kill Chopper.
It's never existed though, right? I mean, okay, that's fair. This man's output has never truly existed. I think it's interesting to I think 4 pigs is pretty cheap. 160 for 4. I think it's pretty cheap price tag. I think that when we see orc point changes happen, I think the pigs are destined to stay the same or go down. I don't think we're going to see so many of them that they skyrocket. I think right now, if you're going to play this man, you might be right. This man might be the top of Grots, which is sad, but it's tough to see such a good data sheet go down there.
Dude, that's weird, right? I almost feel like people are just going to try to fight me, which good, come fight me. But it really is one of those things that, like, I have to give him Head Wappas for him to get damage going off, and then I have to pop Unbridled Carnage. I have to consider him being by himself and getting -1 to wound. Other than that, he doesn't do damage. He's damage 2, right? He's damage 2. I'd rather bring Maz. He could be at the back of lads, but I have a feeling he's gonna be at Runts.
You sold me. This man is the Grots, which
is a Grot, right?
Yeah,
I'll just be honest. He never made any of my list, even in index for the most part. I was putting the knob with Head Wappa Chill Choppa since the beginning of the channel. You take away his ability and all the other detachments, I don't find him being interesting other than the hunt, where he can scout, or you can put him by himself, argue Head Wappas. We might throw him back up to lads at the end of it, but for now I'm gonna leave him at Grots, because when you start
are you leaving home without one in the hunt?
No, you're not. So he's 1. So he belongs in 1 detachment. So you can put him lads.
Maybe 2. I like the -1 to wound on T7.
When you build a list out for points, he doesn't end up there, in my opinion. I'd rather give him Maz. I'd rather give Maz, in my opinion. So speaking of, where's Maz at? I'm gonna magically throw Maz in here, because you can argue he can end up in bullies. You can argue he ends up in the hunt. You can argue that he's in Warhorde. He can be argued for multiple detachments. He has a very unique ability for multiple damage, some dev wound potential. A 4-up invuln is drastically more reliable than a 5-up invuln when you're talking about him by himself or him with a unit. I'm going to leave Miles right here in the middle or top of lads. What do you think about that?
I think it's pretty accurate. I mean, everything you said's true, right? So
but then you're kind of relying for circumstantial outcomes, dice, the rest of your list. I just -1 AP just isn't where it's at. I think a lot of the armies that are going to be coming to the forefront are going to have Armor of Contempt, and then he just falls off for his reliable output. The critical 5 pluses that he used to have that don't exist anymore for his mount for dev wounds, that has saved me so many times where he did absolutely nothing with him himself, and then just the mount getting dev wounds was what saved him. So the fact that that's gone, I can't put him anything higher than Lads.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So we have Warboss. Warboss and Mega Armour. How do you feel about that? Warboss and Mega Armour. You already kind of gave it a little bit away. What do you think about that?
Listen, this man's the top of Nobz. Maybe not the top. For now, he's better than the Beastboss. Like, Meganobz are absurd defensive profiles. He's just the top of Nobz. Like, this man going up to damage 3 during the WAAAGH puts us at a very, very rare profile that we don't see a lot in the faction. You're not leaving the house without 1 unit of Meganobz unless you're playing maybe Green Tide or Hunt. Other detachments are taking a lot of them, at least right now, while they're 30 a model. You know what I mean? They're 30 points a model. Like, this man does the thing, giving them the +1 to hit, which they desperately need. Getting a hit on 3s when you have twin linked, you take that very, very successful wound rate. Like, I'm running this man with all of them. Maybe. Are you taking him in every detachment all the time?
I'm taking him in 3 detachments that are arguably the best detachments, and even possibly the worst detachment, arguably the speed wall, because he could come out, jump out of a truck with Wee's Fasta or the fastest, We the fastest or whatever, the enhancement that allows for truck boys where you can move the transport and then disembark. You could argue he's in there. You could argue in Warhorde. You can argue in Dreadmob. You can argue in Bully Boys. The fact that I can very reliably put him in any of those 4 detachments means, I'm sorry, he has to be in the best just at the moment. 80 points for what he brings and what he assists with. You know, it does require the combo, the synergy, but I'm just putting him as the best. He has a great amount of wounds as well, right? And he automatically hits on a 2+. He hit on 2+ natively, so giving him +1 to hit.
2+1 solid. He's never getting below that.
And that helps with Death Guard, right? Everybody hates Death Guard right now for Orks. Being able to stack -2 to us. Him being able to come in there and say, no, I'm wounding you on 2s, and I'm putting 3 damage into you, plus I'm helping you with +1 to hit. And I have, 7 wounds, I believe? I'm gonna keep him
he's got 7 wounds.
I'm keeping him as the best because there's so many different detachments that you can decide to put him in, and you'll love to put him in. Now, last but certainly not least, and I did keep him last for a reason, because I am biased. I did a video specifically about Gaz early in the index, which everybody agreed with, and then disagreed with, and then everybody agreed with when we started looking at GT performing lists. So I would say Gaz has always had a place, and him getting a glow up, if anything, just makes him even more important. So I'm going to put him in Nobz for now, but I want to argue with it because I think we could argue for one of the best. But right now, top of Nobz at the very least. What do you think about Gaz?
Man, I love everything about him. I wish he was better outside of Horde and Bullies, to be honest. But he is just absolutely a crux in those 2 detachments. Give him that sweep, baby. He sweeps better than the lion.
Dude, yes.
Take
I've been talking about
Dark
since
Angels.
8th edition, dude. I'm so sick of getting bogged down by stupid stuff.
Right.
+1 to hit, +1 to wound on a sweep attack that's strength 8 -2 damage. That feels really good.
Just let me take him with 20 boys already. Dang. If I could take this man with 20 boys, it would be game over.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
all I want. All I want is this man with 20 boys.
So I think because, okay, so just to reveal some of my cards as it is, I would say I have a strong opinion that Warhorde might be the best detachment at the end of the day. Bully Boys right now, strong, super strong. Increase Nobz, Meganobz just a bit, and then Warhorde slips up to the top. So what I would say is Gaz being so magnificent, countering a lot of our weaknesses. Nobz cannot punch through T12 reliably by any means, even T11. anything that has damage reduction. If you've put a Nob unit into a Redemptor Dreadnought with -1 damage and Armor of Contempt, you have probably bounced off him if you haven't softened him up with Mortal Wounds. Gaz helps offset all of those weaknesses that Orcs currently fall into. So I would say he, at the very least, ends up at top of A. We could see him slip up here after a point data slate change where the Meganobz cost too much and everything. But as of now, he's at top of A Nobz. Short term, before Meganobz get a points increase, he's still going to be Nobz. But if Meganobz get hit too hard and Bully drops down, I can see Warhorde becoming #1 again. That being said, Gaz is super reliable, and he helps offset some of our weaknesses.
I think Warhorde might be #1 right now. We'll see.
Oh, right now. All right,
Yeah,
dude.
right now. We'll
Spin
see.
that fire, but you know what is #1 right now? The Grots. Come on, dude. I'm gonna put Grots right here. You know, what's up? Who wants to argue with me about this? I see you, Fedora, in the chat. I know you ain't mad about that. Are Grots are the best? I mean, are they at the back of S tier?
They are easily the bottom of the best.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You are never not taking them, especially when you're talking about having 22 OC for 40 points over 11 models. There's no list you're not taking at least one. My current Bully Boys has 3 units in it. Absolutely. Period.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that he has 3 units in it, because people will sometimes look at me like, you're bringing 3 units of Grots? And I'm like, are you not playing against 3-inch Deep Strike? Are you not maximizing their screening potential and scoring potential and having super cheap ton of OC and bodies? I mean, that's fantastic.
People have fight first and fight on death.
My gosh.
I'm sure, you know what I mean? I'm trying to mitigate. No way. There's no way.
For sure. So right there, Grots S tier, we're there. How about the boys? How do you feel about some basic boys?
Man, let me tell you how much I love Sticky.
Yeah, dude.
Sticky being the ability of this unit is phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Sticky has pissed me off so many times in other matchups, dude. I'm so glad we have Sticky now.
Yeah. Boys are slamming.
I can make an argument that they could be at least one small 10-man unit in almost every detachment, no question. But does that mean they belong in higher than Nobz, or does that mean that they're fine?
Hold on. The only reason that we're not doing that is because the Gretchin are farming CP. That's it. We don't necessarily need the Sticky as much as other factions at home. Sticky elsewhere, Sticky at home, still good. People have any indirect. There's still times when it's worth it to Sticky before you go. I started off the Codex with a unit of boys in every list. I no longer have 110 in every single list.
Yeah.
So I think right where they are, above Beastboss, below Gazzy, probably pretty good spot for him.
Yeah, this is actually how I feel where he should be. The boys, but I mean, Beastboss, super excellent. Still think boys are a little ahead of him. Still think Gaz is ahead of the boys, as I can make a list without boys. Not that I want to or like to, but I can make a list without boys. In certain attachments, we'll say the Warhorde, I can't make one without Gaz. We'll talk back about Gaz and bullies because I want to hear what you say about that. But we'll move on for now. Now, what about the boys' counterpart? Snagga Boys. How do you feel about Snagga Boys now? There were all the hype at the beginning of the index. Everybody was super happy that you can get up to strength 8 with some basic infantry. Now there's a stark difference between them and boys and their capabilities. What do you think about that?
So Snaggas are always, to me, going to be more of a meta call than boys because they depend on what's going on and what you're taking. The fact that they cost 20 points more hurts quite a bit for very similar roles, even though you have higher strength. You're pulling out the Snaggas when you need the rerolls. Period. So what I like right now is Bully Boys with some Snaggas. Right? I want to Bully Boys with Ghazghkull and 20 Snaggas. So I can still go in with full rerolls and I can still lethal and I can still have a Brazilian attacks that I'm full rerolls to hit. Hard to place them on a tier list because I think if you're talking ability versus ability, they're better than boys, but I think they're going to see less play especially with the green tide detachment existing. So if they had the boys keyword, good God, we'd be playing.
I would say I've been preaching about if you got, and you're right, when you're talking about specific meta call, when Catans were running around bullying people, I said, bring Gaz, bring 20 Snagga boys, you'll chew through that Catan.
Oh, yeah.
Catan took a hit. I think as we move forward, stuff with good armor saves, like 2-up armor saves and AOC, might become more of the forefront. Therefore, I'm not sure if I can put Snagga boys any higher than the back of Nobz or at the top of Lads.
Yeah, that's kind of where I see him too. It's tough if we have Beastboss up there because Boss isn't appearing without the boys. You know what I mean? I don't think you're going to see one without the other. So either of those places seem fine.
I'll leave him in the back of Nobz for now as we continue. How about Burna Boyz? So Burna Boyz got left out. Do they even got a leader? I heard people saying they get a mech. I'm not sure about that. I'm pretty sure I double checked and they don't get a leader.
I don't
Therefore,
think they do.
How do you feel about Burna Boyz?
Man, I feel like Burna Boyz, they probably meant to delete in the codex and they just forgot to do it.
What the heck, dude?
I feel like they just forgot to do it. I feel like they are kind of outclassed by everybody else right now. If they had anything better on their data sheet, they'd be exactly what we want. The problem is, every time I try to run Burna Boyz, I end up realizing Flash Gits just do it better.
Yeah,
right. I want to send a little 5-man. We want to clear some screens. We want to commit something early. And every time I test it, the Burna Boyz look good on paper. And I'll be like, oh, cool. I'll run one Flash on one side, one Burna on the other. And the Flash Git always outperform the Burna Boyz no matter what happens. And then I end up with 2 units of 5 Flash Gits. And if I'm doing that kind of unit, so it's like it's hard to justify ever running them. I feel like they're flawed, and I feel like no one's gonna put them out there. I know people were like putting them in Gargantuan, Squigos and whatnot, but like I don't see it.
That's my boy. My boy be doing that. Let's go, Aaron. But yeah, it's one of those things where Flash Gits do it better. They lack a proper data sheet, in my opinion. I mean, hitting on 4s with their two, I think it was like 2 attacks. Hitting on 4s, you're like, oh, -2 AP. What the heck? Hitting on 4s with 2 attacks. And then you're like, oh, flamers with 3 rolling wounds, strength 4. What the heck? It's one of those things that bring them up to strength 5, -1 AP, make them hit on 3s. I'll reevaluate them. Until then, I got to put them in runts, top of runts, maybe.
If those changes happen, they would be phenomenal. That's all they need, and they still wouldn't even kill a unit of scouts, but they'd still be way better than they are now.
Yeah.
Like I would still want them to go 60 for 5, still pretty legit, but not with the current rules. I'm with you.
You know what's good with the current rules? Just kidding. Tankbusters, come on, dude. Praise their awesome data sheets and their resin models. What's up, dude? Tankbusters.
Man,
don't make that face again, dude. What's up, man?
They forgot the delete button again, dude. I feel like look, some of these units got big glows, some of them got ignored. Tankbusters fell into the ignored category.
Dude, Tankbusters, GW is making them pay the price for the fact that they have dev wounds on their data sheets from the hammer and the fact that they have 2 bomb squigs. Yet they can only release 1 bomb squig at a time. It's like, hey, man, what's going on here? If I could disembark, pop a bomb squigs, both of them at the same time, if for some reason I could reroll hit rolls, I might consider them. Other than that, dude, Tankbusters are just not where it's at. D3 on their hammers is insulting. Get out of here, GW. You know what? Just because you're insulting me, I'm putting them behind the Painboss.
I wish they were good, dude.
Me too.
If you could roll around with those things and they'd be good, then yeah.
I have 10 just sitting around looking happy as could be. So how about, let's see what I want to talk about. You know, I don't want to, we'll do Nandos.
You can't do one vehicle till you do all the buggies. You got to do one at a time.
Okay.
Mandos, send it. Let me hear your take. When I played you had the Mandos out.
Okay, so what I will say is kind of along the lines of what I said earlier with throwing up a unit of boys. if you're running a green tide, hypothetically, maybe a bully unit, I could argue, or, bully or warhorde, I could see why you'd want to kind of subdue people shooting and such. I think it's a high skill kind of unit to use. I think I misused them when we played, even at that GT. I didn't practice enough. That being said, Snikrot being low and op can do a very similar job for cheaper points. I've seen the argument for running 2 of them in green tide and running into people and just holding the line. Maybe running into bully boys and holding the line, but at the current point cost, lacking -1 to wound from the warhorde, I'm not sure that I really find a place for them on the list yet. The meta could devolve into a bunch of people using scouting and infiltrating, and then you need Mandos, but that's really your meta dependent.
So I think the last piece you didn't bring up was orcs already inherently want to go first.
Yeah.
Commandos want to go first.
Yeah.
And I think going second, they are far worse. So you're taking an army that wants to go first and a unit that says, guess what? If we go first, we're pretty good. But if we go second, not so much.
Yeah, I felt that in our game, huh?
You don't want to lean in. Yeah, you don't want to lean into that. If I go second, things are worse for me. Where I think Snikrot can mitigate that when I go second. But the fact that Snikrot does it all, he kind of just says, hey, boys, give me a point cut. They don't need to be 135. That's crazy. Give me the 5-man's back. What are you doing?
Yeah, they're an outrageously sized unit. They're quite expensive. Go ahead. I'm going to put them in grots because I could still argue a little bit more.
I would take a 5 for 65.
Yeah, dude, don't even say that.
Cut 5 points.
Wish out here, dude.
Cut 5 points. Cut them in half. Then I'll take probably
make a wish foundation out here with Eric, dude, saying 65 points for 5 commandos, dude.
It's a 5-point cut. Give me 2
meta changing, dude.
Oh yeah, that's why they're not. That's why they didn't give it to us.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. Under the best circumstances that GW notices that we're all sad about this, yes. In realistic outcomes, that's not going to happen. They're sitting at grots. Probably next tier list video, they'll still be sitting at grots. I'll put them at the top of grots because if you really, really need that, say you're playing against people that have this issue, sure, you could bring them a bunch of scouting, maybe something like that. But because Snikrot's so high up, low and op, can do a very similar job, Mandos just have to fall down for their price.
Yeah.
Now, the Lootas. Yeah. Where do you see these Lootas falling into place here, dude?
That is a tough call.
Okay, I'm going to put them in lads just while we talk about it.
I really like them, and I really don't like them at the same time. They're so good and so not so good. They are so cheap for what they do. They are full rerolls to hit, but they're hitting so bad. Why are they weapons? Why are they BS6?
Yeah.
Why? Yes, they're heavy, but come on, we're trying to move, man.
Yeah. I can't even use them without moving in my terrain, specifically where I play.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for that type of unit, I think that them and Flash Gits are the best. I think they definitely make it. Yeah, that's exactly. I think the Lootas and Flash Gits are probably the best at what they want to do. They're definitely better than Burna Boyz, and they're cheap.
Okay, I'm gonna say for respect of the community as orcs, we need some shooting, and I appreciate the combinations people put through. Dude, auto cannons with +1 to wound, +1 damage, dread mob. Let's say you get plunging fire. Best case scenario, if you can get the optimal outcome out of them, which is what we're basing this tier list off, you can't put them lower than lads because when they do get everything in best case scenario, they go off like nothing else. Other than the best case scenario, they don't go off at all. Therefore, they will be at the end of lads, but out of respect for the people that do have the right conditions to make them work, when they're at their max potential, they can really much go off. Like, let's just be real. +1 to wound on auto cannons. If you can ignore cover and somehow get plunging fire, dude, those things go off like nothing else. Someone touches an objective, you're like, Overwatch, dead. You're right, but so I think I personally have to put them at the very, very end of lads. They might drop into grots, but right now I feel like very end of lads, they can make stuff happen in a way that other units cannot because we just straight up lack shooting data sheets.
Yep. I wouldn't even be mad if you put them top of Grots.
Oh, okay. But I'm that's we'll see when we revisit. But shout out to Watt for 10 gifted memberships. Whoa, let's go, Watt.
Yeah.
Let's go. And of course, we're talking about stacking strats and enhancements on this unit and terrain. So it is very circumstantial, hard outcomes. You know, you got to do big shells for bigger gets. Hope you get sustained if you roll for it. Force sustained, I guess. Maybe lethals. Stuff like that you could do. They become fantastic. Other than that, you know, they might drop here, but for the most part, I see more people bringing Lootas than Mandos as a whole for the Orc community, if that makes sense. But you know what the Orc community agrees on? Where the Nobz at, boy? What's up with the Nobz? If you've been sleeping on Nobz, you haven't been paying attention to Waaaghtaktiks since the beginning of the index. What's up with Nobz, Eric?
I mean, dude, Nobz got a points increase, and it still is criminal how cheap they are. They're still so cheap.
I think the data's like they went down -5. I think.
I meant last time, right? They went.
Okay, yeah, last time
they were cheaper. They went back up. They're still so cheap. I think they're like, you get like the Blood Angel Assault Intercessors. With the captain, that package is 170. Nobz and the Warboss is like, hold my beer, hold on. Like those boys hit so hard. -1 to wound. You know, to be fair, the quote unquote nerf they took on their -1 to wound was fair because getting hit with bolters on 6s, getting wounded on 6s was outrageously stupid. So,
dude, I love that, dude. I'll just straight up say I love that. I have no respect for bolters. Get off me, dude.
I loved it too, but it doesn't matter. It's still good, right? Still -1 to, like, they've taken point nerfs, rules nerfs, and they're still phenomenal. Auto take every detachment, just about. Maybe not the hunt, but like the hunt's wild. They do their own thing.
Yeah.
I'm putting them in Dread Mob. I haven't played a Dread Mob, but they're in that list. Bully, Horde, like we're running 15 to 25. They're going.
That's exactly where I'm at with that. Exactly.
Like they just go. It's hard for me not to love the MSU units because they just do all the work in the world for nothing. Nobz is the best. Dems is the best boys.
Yeah, especially if you got Gaz and you pop Warhorde, Carnage, you just chew through things you shouldn't be chewing through. It becomes outrageous. No other combination in our book gives us that, and it just deletes a bunch of different armies that hate that. So very much still in favor of that. Glad they're still here. Glad GW didn't drop a nuke on them. Just because we love them doesn't mean you should GW relax. I see you out there, James Workshop. So last but certainly not least on these elite infantry, it looks like the Meganobz. Where you at with Meganobz, dude? I would say they were a little. People thought they were straight up wardens. They're not straight up wardens. They don't punch like wardens. But still, where do you feel them? Where do you see them?
That's a tough call, man. Because in Bully Boys, having access to double WAAAGH, they are just absolutely bananas.
Obnoxious.
Super good. They do have counters though, right? Which is like, you know, they hate AdMech Vanguards. They're only OC1, right? So they do get out OC'd pretty easily. But man, they are just a nightmare to kill and can kind of sit and chew through whatever they want. I think they're going in every detachment. I think until they get a points decrease, they're just, most detachments are taking probably a unit. I haven't ran a list without any Meganobz yet, just because it almost seems like to give an opponent that sort of problem they have to deal with is pretty devastating.
Because they're not killing whatever out OCs them in a timely manner, but the enemy knowing they're still there, and then they're gonna move again, and in the Bully Boys, and they'll eventually get cleared off if they're there long enough. And I would say, yeah, they don't put out like wardens. They do have counters on the non-wall turn. They do get picked up, but by that point, when all those outcomes happen, the enemy still probably lost the game. And when they do choose to deal with them, they've probably overinvested in activations and units to kill them. Therefore, they get the return on all of those circumstances.
I like the Meganobz in 9th edition and Death Skulls too, right? Get a little. It is nice to have that alternative profile in a 2-up armor save.
Nice to get a save, dude. What do you know? Just straight up, it's nice to get a save, man. You know, when I started running Meganobz, they were like -1 AP. I'm like, oh, I get to roll dice. What's up, dude?
Great,
Hey.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm gonna leave them right here behind Snikrot. I think,
I
just
think
because
fair.
you could argue one, list without Warboss, but I don't think you could ever argue a list without a Meganobz. Just sometimes, right? I mean, it's something like this. Maybe I'll swap it just because I like Warboss personally, but these are along these top the best. It's almost like all of these are pretty much being included.
You can kind of shuffle those around. The best is just kind of busted. You know what I mean?
They're all
real good.
You know what used to be busted? Squighog Boyz. So how you feeling about Squighog Boyz now? Speaking of busted, they ain't busted no more. Not hitting +1.
I know. Chesty still likes them. I'm not as high as he is.
No.
I think at most outside of the hunt, you're running 0 or 4. I don't think you're sending big 320 for 8 is quite a bit. That's a big one. So yeah, I wish they were as good as they were.
So I think people are really gonna miss out on sustain +1 to hit. They're slightly overestimated their star output. When you hear about other channels, other tier list people that came out with it, or just how they felt about Orks as a whole, they seem to think that Squighog Boyz got a linear move because the points made sense for their different change. Yet when you think about their stacking potential between Adwapa Skill Choppa, +1 to hit, sustain, when you really think about their stacking potential, that's kind of gone. Therefore, where they're sitting is gone. They need to come down a little bit more points. I know when I first reacted to their points, I said 160 was actually where I was hoping they'd be, but I was hoping they could still get some +1 to hit somehow. Not getting +1 to hit means I need to see them at like 145. Only a certain detachment where you bring them. Bully boys, they start to like, man, do I want to bring them in bullies? I got Meganobz with 4 Feel No Pains. I got Squighog Boyz with 5 Feel No Pain. What's up? What's up? No, it's not what's up. There's a lot of different armies that have multi-damage potential. There's a lot of armies that just are happy that you have something that's not in terrain or hidden, and they're happy to just shoot at them. So I don't think Squighog Boyz are really making it anywhere other than the lads. Shoot, I think I put them right here before the Weirdboy, right behind the mech.
That's probably fair.
Yeah, I could see them. I mean, 1,000-point games, 1,500-point games. I see you guys out there definitely can do a thing, but where they're at right now, they're not doing the thing. Now, something that I'm in contention about is Deffkoptas. How do you feel about Deffkoptas? I've heard a couple people be back and forth saying Deffkoptas. I know per point, how many wounds you get. Their ceiling could be nice. On speed wall, they can kind of make sense if they get within 9 inches. They can do crazy damage. But really, how do you feel about Deffkoptas? Do they even become an option in your list design?
Me, no.
No.
Sadly, the only issue is any detachment where you're planning on potentially taking Deffkoptas, you're also bleeding, bring it down so much that you're just actively hurting yourself and giving your opponent free 20 points to start the game. So you're basically going in saying, cool, you start with 30 and now we'll play a game. So you get 10 for paint, 20 for bring it down, and then you get started. So like, I don't know if they do enough. I don't think that they are, I don't think they're as durable as some of the buggies. I don't think they offer as much for the points as the buggies. Like, sadly, I think they're kind of just outclassed at this point. And I haven't seen a reason or a detachment or a strat or anything that really kind of makes them do what I want them to. Yeah. It's cool they have grenades.
It's cool you get +1 to hit with a bunch of punches, but those are punches at strength 5-0 AP.
Yeah.
In a world of where we appreciate AP, ouch. Their bases are a bit unruly. Fly doesn't work the same way as it used to work. I would say for the most part, it's one of those things where on paper it looks and sounds good, but I think you summed it up quite well. Giving up 30 points to just go up to someone and say, look, this unit's good, but take a 30-point deficit. Automatically, you don't have my attention anymore. Automatically, you've dropped these units down to you have to make a pure argument and build a list around them. Therefore, they can only be in the Speed WAAAGH. The Speed WAAAGH is what I would argue the weakest attachment that we have. And even then, for their optimal performance, you need to be within 9 inches, which if you're running a fat 6-man unit and it's moving around terrain and then trying to get into position, you might not even end up within 9 inches. So they have their grenade potential. They have their, I can kind of float over you and drop some poop on you. I understand that, but you're kind of reaching. And if you're kind of reaching, I don't need to hear that necessarily as anything higher than a grot mentality, right? Grots always be reaching, all right? But, a proper lad doesn't. So I say Deffkoptas right here. I know it was a meme of the channel to say 18 Deffkoptas. Whoa, anybody that's out there, I appreciate you. Definitely 18 Deffkoptas. I feel you on that because per point, they're pretty solid, but you can't really start a game at negative 30 points and then say, watch this with something that can't reliably kill you. So that's just how I feel about that. You're giving away 30 points and you're not killing much.
Yeah.
So let's say, what about the Warbikers? Warbikers is something I personally really liked and made it to some of my lists. I mean, how do you feel about Warbikers?
I like the Warbikers quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are super durable for their points. I think they're fast. I think they're some of the best early skirmishing units we have. It doesn't really matter what's attachment. I think you can plug them in if you need them. Like I love the Warbikers. Again, I'm looking for like units of 3, right? It's kind of to flash ahead. Like it reminds me of the Storm Boys. Super good data sheet, but I'm not really looking at max units. They're super good as they are. So they're definitely lads. I think they're better than the Squigs.
Oh, yeah, I think so too. Look, I'm gonna go ahead and flip Moz behind the mech. And I'm gonna leave the Painboy right there, and I'm gonna put the Warbikers above Moz.
Yeah, I think you see him in more lists than Mozzie for sure.
For sure. And I think if you don't have Storm Boys, Bikers are a direct, easy trade. Being able to move through terrain is a huge benefit. Being able to advance and charge freely is a huge benefit. But having Assault built into your advance on something that can move 12 inches feels really good. And I'm not going to dissuade them for that. They're going to stay right where they're at. Yep. Now, something that I don't want to stay where it's at is the Deffdread. What's up with the Deffdread, dude? How do you feel about my boy that's way overcosted and doesn't do anything reliably but die?
I don't like this man whatsoever. Mm-hmm. My boy Michael Man does, and he's the only one I know. But Michael Mann, pretty good orc player out of Colorado.
Okay.
He likes them in the Dread mob. He likes like triple flamer claw is the loadout he's been running. He's the only one that I know who's been about it. But these, their flamers are 5/11 ignore cover. So they do have the good ones, and 3 of them is pretty legit. But like you said, the cost 130. This man could be.
I think they're 135, dude.
Was it 135? I thought it was 130. Either way, 130, 135.
It's insulting either way.
They still cost a bit. Man, and they do look cool, man. Yeah, they do look cool, but I wish they had a little bit cheaper points. The rules are almost on point. It's interesting. T9 almost there.
130 now. You're right.
2 up armor almost there. 6 up invuln almost there. It's so close. It needs, I don't know, and we might see it. Yeah, I think 110, 115, and would be like, I'd be happy with triple
100 to 110. I'll look at them. 100, I'll definitely look at them. Right now, I'm going to leave them in the middle of grots. Yeah. I think Dread Mob, you can bring them. I've seen some really brave gits bring multiple, weapons and just take hazardous on the face. A 2-up armor save feels nice. It's just when a Gladiator Lancer can kind of nick you and you blow up, I don't really appreciate that.
Yeah, bye forever.
I'm going to leave him at Grots, mid-Grots. We're good. So just to do these quick, buggies. We don't need to elaborate too much. Most people know they suck per data sheet per point. Shock Jump Dragsta only happening in the Speed Wall.
It's the best buggy.
But where is it happening for being the best buggy since all the buggies are kind of underwhelming?
That's why I started with I'm not playing Speed Mob without 3. I think maybe the best Grot, maybe the bottom lad. I don't know. You tell me. I'd rather take that Shocky than the Choppas.
Than the Copters, right?
I would. That Dragsta and Speed Mob being able to advance, pop over, then precision melt a character away. That's kind of spicy.
So how about I start with I'll place them just because I have a pretty strong feeling. I'm going to custom boost the Blasta after the shock jump. I'm going to go. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to go Boomdaka Snazwagon possibly after the custom booster Blasta, then the Mega Trek Scrapjet after the Deffkoptas, followed by Rocket Truck's Quick Buggy. I'm going to drop him into runts because I hate his data sheet right now.
He's so bad.
Yeah. He's somewhere hanging out with the Tankbusters here, just chilling on the shelf. So how do you feel about where I put the Grots? So I put them in Grots, and I put Shock Jump Dragsta on the top of Grots, followed by the Custom Booster Blasta, followed by the Boomdaka Snazwagon for the -1 to hit aura. I would say a smart person would just move away from the aura and then delete you anyways. But there are some armies that simply can't do that. They did nerf it, that it doesn't work on, monsters and vehicles, I believe. So that's pretty big detriment. The Mega Track Scrapjet does have potential to spike. So I would argue that it could spike mortal wounds with between tank shock, its data sheet ability, and some of its punching.
Yeah.
You comfortable with this, even though you said it and try it? I think most people
I think if we're putting Lootas in lads, does the shock jump go in the lads?
Oh, you're saying because he's almost like an auto take in that Speed Mob.
He's not even just an auto, he's an auto 3.
Oh.
Like, you're not playing Speed Mob without 3 shock. The Dragsta is by far the best one for 80 points. That man's is actually pretty good.
You know what I would say here is, though? You're arguing the weakest detachment on paper, quote unquote, for anybody who wants to fight me, versus like a solid detachment in Dread Mob.
Listen, the weakest orc better than any Space Marine, man.
That's very true.
I don't care if it's the weakest one we have. Look, for the weakest detachment, they got a generic +1 to wound strat and Truck Boys. Come on.
That's so good.
Right? I know. Truck Boys is insane.
When I see the weakest, I mean, an orc's still mighty strong, even if it's the weakest of the orcs. Goodness. For this entertainment for now, but I might drop him. When we go over this, I could wait. Hold on, Beastboss and Squigasaur, but get back in Grots. I don't know.
Sneaking around,
dude. I think he belongs in Grots. I don't know how you got up there. Get back.
I don't know how he got up there either.
Yeah,
no, I like the shock jump goes. That man's pretty good. He is just beyond the other buggies by a lot.
Okay, then I'll leave him there for now. We'll talk about it at the end when I reevaluate all these, and so will you. But I'm hearing you out, right? Because Lootas are best in optimal circumstances in the Dread Mob. That means the Dragsta being an auto take in triples and speed wall does make sense. Let's see. Let's go with. I already did Squighog Boyz. I don't know why they're there. Let's put them in the back. Sorry, Squighog Boyz, get out of here. I already did them. Let's go Flash Kits. I heard you bring up Flash Kits earlier. 80 points. Great skirmish. Cheap. Knob bodies. No proper leaders. I'm glad GW brought them down in points. Good.
They're not runts. They're grots.
Yes, they're grots.
They're definitely grots. You think you put them up in lads? You think lads?
Dude, you know why? Because for the point cost and the fact that I can reach out and shoot something, even if the enemy doesn't necessarily know that I can get the output from them, they do have to account for the fact that I can get the output from them to clear their screens and then move on. And they can punch with their punching potential. They get an actual armor save.
Yeah, they
and they're
do.
smaller
They got 2
profile.
wounds. They do offer a lot that the faction wants.
They're balanced data sheet, and for 80 points, I mean, like kind of like the biker. And it's like I could argue bringing them. If you're bringing a unit of Nobz with the Warboss, and you don't have the points to bring more stuff in that truck, you could pop a flash kits unit in there, commit the flash kits first, then pop out with the Nobz. You know, it's a SWAT team combo is what we like to call it around here. This is just, remember, this is anywhere from top competitive to mid-table heroes, right? And I think there's a good amount of people that are going to be trying to plug their 5-man units of flash kits, even if it's only 1 unit. And I do have a feeling it's going to be somewhere around Squighog Boyz and Moz on popularity. I do.
All right, that's fair.
They're just a solid data sheet for 80 points.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Boys or flash kits, it's like, well, if my flash kits can get off on shooting on you and they pop their lethal that 1 turn, I might spike. I might have a great day. I'll leave them behind Squighog Boyz for now.
Yeah, it works.
Then we'll go Storm Boys. What's up with the Storm Boys, dude? S tier.
They might be. I haven't plugged a single list in without Storm Boys.
Exactly.
That's they got a nice glow up. They're not dying anymore. They got fallback and charge, which is huge. They just sent it. You hold on. Where are you going with that Stompa?
Whoa. We're still playing those Storm Boys, dude. What's up?
What are we talking about? We all know Storm Boys. We love them, Dan. We're taking units of 5. They go in every list. Doesn't matter what they are. They're deep striking or they're pushing. They're getting those early points. They're skirmishing. The Storm Boys do everything. They could go up 10 points, and I'm still taking 2 units. They probably will go up 10 points.
Hey, don't say that, dude. What's going on? Don't be warning James Workshop. Hey, don't listen to him, James Workshop. He's playing on UKTC. How about that? All right, so all right, trucks, S tier. Can you argue?
Nah, they go.
Nah, we're gonna put Grots at the end of S tier just because I don't have respect for anything that's a Grot, but we'll go right there. I accidentally have both of these gets on here. Let me shimmy this down. Battle Wagon. I want to bring him up since we just talked about his counterpart. How do you feel about a Battle Wagon?
I absolutely love the Battle Wagon. I think if you're taking any 20 boys, you're taking a Battle Wagon for 1. Like I'm running a Battle Wagon in Greentide, I'm running a Battle Wagon in Bullies, and I'm running a Battle Wagon in Horde. Period. The size of that thing with a Rolla makes it nearly impossible for anyone to wrap you. That's one way you beat orcs. You get a little too aggressive with your transport. Someone runs up and just wraps all your shit and you just live there forever. Sad days for the green boys. You can't even get out of your truck. You can't wrap a Battle Wagon because they don't have a unit big enough, and you're going to kill some with the Rolla. Always AOC. Always -1 AP means it's a monster to bring down. You're taking a hard case, so you're T12. It's just a monster. The point decrease, even 160 for just a transport, it does so much more. The size on the table is actually a benefit. You're able to run over to one side and then the next turn disembark the other. You're saving so much room and movement. I'm a huge fan. Battle Wagon does a lot, and you can make a lot of high-level plays with the wagon. I'm a big fan.
It's true. I would say just for any newer players, if you are feeling confident and your Battle Wagon gets blown up because something charge it, disembark out of consolidation range, because last thing you want is your 20-man unit of boys getting nicked at the end where there's no knob, and then that unit only punches with 3 boys, and then you're stuck in combat. Other than that, Battle Wagon, super powerful, feels really good. It's a remarkable transport for its point cost. I feel like it's at the end of Nobz, if not somewhere in the middle of Nobz.
I would put him ahead of the Beastboss.
Ahead of the Beastboss? Ahead of the Big Mac with custom force field?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because all the detachments you bring them in. I just had to, hey, I'm playing devil's advocate.
Do that. I love it.
Yeah. So how about this? Killa Kanz. How do you feel about Killa Kanz, dude? I want to love them.
I haven't tested the Dread Mob, but everyone I know is running it is sending about that 3 Battle Wagon life. Let's go. Hell yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see that we have a super chat. Murdered the Orky Tank. How about them 3 Battle Wagons? Whoa, for $10. Gifted membership. Thank you very much. You get, I don't know about 10. How do you think about 10?
3 wagons? Send 3 wagons, dude.
Send 3 wagons?
I've sent 2, and I'm into it. you're gonna be hard pressed. You're gonna be hard pressed to convince me that 3 is bad. Fill them with all the killiest orcs out there, especially if any sort of meta where people in fast guns, light terrain. You want to live in somewhere safe. Nowhere safer than a battle wagon.
That's very, very true. So shout out to you, Murder to Orky Tank. I appreciate the support. Means a lot. Thank you very much. Very generous of you. And if you do run 3 battle wagons, you better show me in Discord. Now,
Yep.
Killa Kanz. What's up with your Killa Kanz, dude? They're creeping around here. What's up?
Dude, they're the staple of Dread Mob, is what I've been told. Dread Mob boys are running 12 to 18. They're getting good results. I mean,
that being said, limited to 1 detachment for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: if it was just a Dread Mob, they're the best of Dread Mob, but they are 1 detachment, and they are the auto of that detachment. So I don't know where that goes in lads. They're definitely
that goes near the top of lads, kind of like the mech is the
yeah, they're
auto brought in 1 single detachment. But if you look at their data sheet as a whole, being big and ultra slow, not getting any leadership, any leaders to help buff them, having terrible leadership. So if you bring a big unit, they can start taking battle shock tests. No ways to kind of get around terrain. If the Big Mac, right, this Big Mac new model could join up with Killa Kanz, we'd be cooking.
Yeah, that'd be rad.
We'd be cooking, dude. I'm like, please. But other than that, I gotta leave them in lads just because they also their data sheet ability being nerfed and not being ignore cover with their
I know, motherfathers, why they do that.
Dude, GW, just do us a favor. After you nerf Meganobz, go ahead and give the Big Mac the ability to lead Killa Kanz, and we'll all be happy. You'll be happy because you'll be happy about the Big Mac being awesome again. That'd be fantastic. Other than that, I gotta leave Killa Kanz where they're at. And we move on to mech guns. What do you feel about mech guns, dude?
Again, I think mech guns. I think I like the bubble chucker. That's crazy to say, but I think I like the bubble chucker the most. Mech guns are lads. They're the bottom. They're going in every Dread Mob, I think. I think you can convince me to run a unit with a mech, maybe with the ignore cover enhancement. I think you can convince me to run solo. 1-1-1 strategic reserve, bring them in.
Yep.
I think they have a lot of utility, but I'm not sure which one's the best. I think
I'm glad they came out in points, and we don't know. I would say there's a small chance that you might see them if Tau becomes very annoying and Tau has a bunch of fly, and you're like, hold on, here's a 3-man unit of tractor cannons. I just put a bunch of anti-2 dev wounds into you. Also, Bubba Chukka is the #1 choice just because when you go to roll off for the button, based off how I read it, you roll off for the button first. Or actually, you roll off for their data sheet ability first, and then you kind of get to pick their button capability, right?
Yep, I agree. That's how that reads to me.
So that being said, I think they're totally fine here. I'm gonna put them against a little. I think I personally, just because it's a stronger detachment, I want to put them above a shock jump dragsta. Just because I really think at the end of the day, I don't think the speed mob is going to be where it's at. I think the dread mob's going to be with that. So you're going to see more mech guns finding their way onto a GT performing or RTT winning list. Just because they feel like it. Gargantuan Squigoth, he got nerfed. Artist Nails doesn't work on him anymore. No monster ability. Where do you find the Gargantuan Squigoth? Where is he now in your world?
Man.
I'm thinking.
I don't even. He barely fits on the terrain I play on.
Yeah,
he's such a nightmare for me. I have seen him on the table one time before. The man at the GT we played at ran him. I don't know.
Dude, I wanted to bring him at that GT. I would say I have to put him in the middle, lower end of Grots.
It's probably right.
There's so much dumb amount of lethal in this game that is just like your T13, peace out. You get no invuln, you get no feel no pain. Mortal wounds are everywhere, dev wounds are everywhere. So many different things. And like Zach said, he doesn't get the hunt ability. So yeah, I would say I got to put him somewhere around here. He could end up actually kind of worse off. So Right behind Deffkoptas, I would say. He might even be worse. Really, he really would. I might just be biased right now. But we'll revisit this. We only have about 5 relevant data sheets left, and then the planes. So we'll say, what is this? A hunter rig or a kill rig? This is a hunter rig. How do you feel about a hunter rig?
Man, they're probably both runts, to be honest with you.
Both runts. Oh, now we're about to fight. You guys see this? He just said kill rig's a runt, dude. Really?
Kill rig's a runt? Yeah.
Okay. So I would say
let's go.
Kill rig.
All right, I'm ready.
170. Beastboss coming down in points. Auto hitting last cannon, stacking strength and possible lethal. Multi-phase model. You cannot put him in runs for just saying all those things alone.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
What's a battle wagon cost?
160.
What's a kill rig cost?
170.
All right, we're done.
We could bring both.
We're done.
Bring both.
We're done.
No, you can bring both.
That's it. You can only hold 12 beast snaggers. Your transport capacity is limited. If you're talking about a tank, you have something with no invuln any longer, and we're barely tougher than a rhino with just a few extra wounds, along with having almost no AP. So we're a tank that doesn't tank. We're a killer that doesn't kill, and we're a transport that doesn't transport. So, like, sadly, they've taken the 9th edition kill rig and turned it into doing all 3 things really, really well to doing all 3 things very poorly and outclassed by everything else in the codex. I have 3 kill rigs, and I love them, and I want to put them on the table, and I never will right now. That's my take.
Still hold my ground because of a couple things. No shooting in our army means that you will appreciate your auto hitting las cannon when you bring them out. 2 is I don't have to put something inside of him. And there's an argument to where I wouldn't, right? There's an argument to where these worlds of higher strength, toughness units and trying to get volume of boy punches in, that getting to a different strength threshold so that I can get to a different wounding threshold makes a difference in a game. I would say at the current time of the meta, because we're so saturated with choices, I am going to put him at like near the end of Grotz, but he's still better than a Deffdread. Like, I'll just shoot that Deffdread, dude.
I'd rather take a Deffdreads.
No, dude, my auto hitting last cannon will just overwatch that
Deffdread has a 2-up invuln and a 2-up armor and a 6-up invuln. The Deffdread is tougher than a kill rig, my dude.
No,
it's tougher for no reason.
For no reason. He has 8 wounds. That's not true. Or 9 wounds, whatever.
I'll take the 2-up armor save and the invuln. Oh my god.
So we'll agree to disagree, and we'll put them right next to each other.
That's fair.
I would say here's the thing. I've seen more GT performing lists with the kill rig than with the Deffdread in the index, and going forward, I still think that's going to be possibly the case.
I think what you see is some badass orcs out there that could have won with a battle wagon instead.
Well, hey, Stephen Paprine, you actually used both, so shout out to you.
Let's go.
Let's go. And I think I'm going to leave him there for my own heart's desire, but I think you made a good point there.
I love him, dude. I love kill rigs. That's a cool
I think it's fun to argue it. I know some people will strongly agree with you, and some people might agree with me. Hey man, we'll leave it there. How about that?
He makes me sad, dude. I want kill rig to be a baller.
Make him 150. Just make him 150.
Yeah. Give him some AP.
Play the hunts, dude. No, they won't. They won't do it just because in the hunt he already has AP. You get it?
Advance and charge and can deep strike. He's kind of cool in the hunt.
He is kind of cool, dude. I'm still putting him at the near back of that. Boomdaka Snazwag, and I'm gonna drop you a little further back, dude. I'm tired of you. All right, so and a Mega Track Scrapjab. Before you even get there, you guys are going back there.
Get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here. All right, now we're getting towards a couple of my favorites, and then we'll end it off. So. Morkana, where are you feeling about Morkana?
So from the testing I've seen, I like the Morkanaut better than the Gorkanaut.
Woo! Elaborate. Why do you say that?
Well, the only reason is because the Gorkanaut is not completely reliant on feeding 800 strats to it. Wait a minute. Morkanaut is the red one, right? The shooty one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Gorkanaut is the melee, is the combat yellow. At first glance, I thought the Gorkanaut was going to be better in the mob, just because it had less guns, less hazardous checks to take, and also more shots going out. So if you're taking full rerolls sustained, you're taking full rerolls lethal, especially if you're +1 to wound and +1 damage, more shots should equate to more damage. But from the reports I'm getting from the boys, the Morkanaut is actually turning out to be a lot more damage output. It's not WAAAGH reliant to be good, and it's not strat reliant. So during the WAAAGH, it does perform better, and you can actually let the Morkanaut kind of do its thing by itself without being fully supported, because you can only full strat up one of them.
Exactly.
And in that detachment, I think for those reasons, that's the only detachment you're going to take them. You just see an edge of the Morkanaut over the Gorkanaut. Now, if we see a ruling, because the stratagem on +1 to wound, +1 damage isn't super clear to everybody.
Oh,
To
you brought
me,
it up.
I
You
did. I
it.
did. To me, it's pretty clear that the +1 damage is in addition to the +1 to wound into only monsters and vehicles. That's
Yep.
what it looks like to me. And when I play games, I like to play with the worst ruling. And if they
Yep.
say it's better, heck yeah, I got buffed. I don't want to be used to playing with the good business. If that changes to where they say the +1 damage can go on anything, I think we could take a closer look at the Gorkanaut and say that might be better. But that's my take on it.
No, 100% agree on that. At first, you're like, I don't want to pay the extra points for that Morkanaut, dude. What am I doing? Trying to blow myself up? At the end of the day, you do have more AP, more higher strength shots, and multi damage, which is something orcs lack on all three of those things. You're lacking on the high strength weapons, you're lacking on the AP, and you're lacking on the multi damage weapons. Therefore, you can act, and he's shooting. Therefore, you're activating him earlier in the game. For the Gorkanaut, you're really just trying to bring him in from reserves, hoping he doesn't get last cannon down, and then you're getting into combat, hoping someone doesn't roll enough 4-up invulns that you feel bad, because his sweep attack is only -1 AP. So I would say, yeah, Morkanaut goes ahead of the Gorkanaut for those reasons. If Gorkanaut even got up to a -2 AP on the sweep, I'd maybe even like him a little more. But where it's at right now, I would say there. But where do they end up in this among all these other gits?
I mean, I think because of that, like, I think the Morkanaut is in lads, and the Gorkanaut is probably top of Grot.
Damn, up top
I
of
mean,
Grot?
dude, are you even taking a Gorkanaut in every list now? I don't think you're even taking it in every list.
In every Jed Mob list?
Yeah, I think you're taking a Morkanaut and maybe two. I don't think you're taking a Gorkanaut in every Dread Mob list. I think everyone playing Dread Mob is slamming a Morkanaut, or at least they will after they test it.
And Killa Kanz.
For sure. Killa Kanz happening. Like,
and a Stampa.
Maybe.
I was oh, you said maybe. Okay, I was hoping you were gonna just laugh at me. I mean, I was hoping you were gonna argue, but yeah, catch you off guard. But no. Okay,
maybe.
For the moment,
look.
We're getting him next. I'm gonna say for the moment, I'll put Gork out here where we evaluate this in about 5 minutes because we're about the end. Now, last of relevant data sheets, but certainly not least, the Stampa. Let's go, dude. I've been pushing the Stampa. I just did a video about it the other day with the Battle Force box. How do you feel about the Stampa, dude? Is it a joke? Are we delusional? What's going on here?
It's definitely not a joke.
Definitely not.
It's definitely not a joke. It's definitely not. The Stampa is definitely, I see you, you don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And
you
the
see
Stampa,
Canis Rex, you're like, peace out, Canis Rex.
oh, easily. Bye.
Yeah.
Nice knowing you. Peace out, homie. So the Stampa is certainly better on GW, UKTC terrain where you have a lot more visibility, flexibility, and you're not into like having to navigate real tight corridors of WTC. I still haven't had a ton of data where I'm seeing like how tall the Stampa is. Such a wild model, and people model them so differently. Like, are you seeing over third floor ruins on a lot of terrains? It's hard to tell, but the man's damage output is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't care who you are. Nobody wants to play against something where if it sees me, I die.
Yeah.
And the Stampa does that. The Stampa strictly looks at you and says, piss off. Like, you just disappear.
He's punishing in both ways, in my opinion, as I've actually played with him a few times. He's punishing as in, if you're the player that doesn't respect him and you're just getting deleted, ow, you've dealt with him and you've given a bunch of targets. You didn't kill him in one shot. It's over. The game might be set. On the other hand, if you're the orc player that allows him to get charged by a bunch of these different combination units that can put enough damage into him to kill him because he doesn't have feel no pains, he's susceptible to mortal wounds, he's susceptible to dev wounds, lethals, -3 AP, all these different things that can happen more likely in melee, at least in the volume to kill him. I would say then he punishes you in that sense, and then you can end up thinking he's terrible because you lost him in turn 2 or turn 1.
It's a lot of eggs in one basket. You know, the important thing for us orcs to remember is that if you play them safely, you know, you are looking at a unit with rules. Like, dude, if Guard had the rules that Dreadmob had, the game would stop. We would all pause while we fixed it because it'd be the most busted thing on the whole planet. Dreadmob rules are some of the most insane. It's almost impossible that we don't see somebody break this and we have to nerf it in some way because they're just bananas. They're just so crazy. And if you are playing somewhere where the Stampa is viable, you play a lot of units that keep people away from you. One thing I will say is the Stampa definitely warps the rest of the list. A lot of the dread mob lists I've seen are like more spread out, where you have cans here, Morkanauts here, and you have a little more table coverage. The Stampa is definitely playing protect the queen. You know what I mean? We are certainly putting Storm Boys, Meganobz. We're putting whatever we can in between your opponent and that Stampa. If Stampa lives, you don't.
Yep.
That's just the bottom line.
Yep. The games that I've got on the turn 3, 4, I've won. If he's just not doing his thing on turn 3 and he's still kind of staged up, I've lost those games. But the fact that you can even win a game with the Stampa means he has to be relative and relevant in the meta as you're going to think about him when you're thinking about Dread Mob. And at an RTT, he might catch you off guard. It comes down to what happens if he faces up with Ironstorm and where's Tau going to be and all these different kind of weird things. People kind of overestimate how easy it is to kill sometimes at 2. And I would say if you roll just a couple extra saves and the enemy rolls a couple 1s or 2s so they don't wound him properly and he's still alive, he will delete the enemy's anti-tank units at range, and then he gets free range for the rest of the game. So don't disparage him just because people can shoot him. It's one of those things that you really want to just keep things off him and allow him to keep activating. So for that being said, I'd say he's a proper lad. He's going to sit right here. Would you put him any higher than where he's at or any lower?
That's such a tough call. I mean, I would probably put him right below Mozzie.
Below Mozzie?
I would think you're going to see more Mozzie than him. And it's directly like he is Dread Mob, right? And that's it. Mozzie will see other detachments. And I don't think you take Stampa in every single Dread Mob.
No, but this tier list is based off max potential, and I think Stampa will impact the game, and he could actually win you. We'll say like an RTT or a escalation league or whatever it may be. And I think Maz just doesn't have that weaponization anymore.
I'm with you.
Just losing that. So I'm gonna disagree and just leave him just a butt hair above Maz. But if you want to just, anybody doesn't agree with that, try your Stampa and then
I do like Maz's best buff though that we didn't mention.
Fight on death.
No. His best buff of all is that he's mounted now.
Oh, that he's not monster. So no more anti anymore.
And no more anti, and no one's shooting him in combat. It's actually pretty powerful. Being mounted is a huge benefit to him.
It is. When people talk about running these guys on their own in Warhorde, that's the first thing I bring up is you're not anti anymore, which helps you a lot.
Yep.
In Warhorde specifically. But I would say is I've been saved. I've been saved that he's rolled 5-up lethals on me for me. Other than that, his -1 AP does almost nothing for you.
Yeah.
And I think we're rolling into a world where Armor of Contempt and good armor saves are going to be more and more relevant. That's just where I feel.
Yeah, we definitely are. But CSM is coming too, and man.
Leagues of Voltan is moderately attractive, and well, I'll say Leagues of Voltan is just hard for orcs. And you have weird toughnesses there, and solid armor saves, and Miles just isn't getting enough proper lineup.
Inherent fight on death, yeah.
Yeah, just I'm gonna leave him where he's at. I think the stomp is hilarious. I'm gonna put him there. So real quick, punch through these planes, and then we'll reevaluate everything and end it. So we have this. It looks like the burner bomber, the first red one.
Run.
Drop him here. Runts.
Run.
I'm gonna say the next one.
Top of runts, bottom of grots.
What? The burner bomber?
No, the Waza. The Waz boom.
I think the Waza is right here, and then these are the Daka Jets. So the other two bombers are back at the bottom of runts. Stay back there with the tank buster. Hang out. You guys are good. Now, Daka, we'll say the Daka with the super shooters jet. Where do you feel about him?
I still think the Waz boom is better than it.
Really, I think people do understand the combos he can bring in, giving him +1 to hit. Speed walk can be interesting, but the lack of AP makes him not interesting to me. And Orks already do that, so no, thank you.
Yeah,
he'll stay somewhere.
He's also 135, man. If he went down more.
What? I thought he was like 110, dude. I don't know.
No, that's what I'm saying. If he was 110, then you could convince me. But 135, I don't think so.
All right.
Like, we're almost talking 2 units of flash kits. You know what I mean? We're like very near 2 units of flash kits.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're talking double damage? Hell no.
Hell no. What about the Waz Boom Blasted Jet? How you feeling about my get here?
It's
He's
the
175.
It's the most playable plane. I've seen people try to plug it in. I think most of them end up cutting it. If it is not a grot, it's the best runt, I think.
I'm saying it's the best runt besides the big head boss head bunker. No, I'm just kidding. No, this thing's trash. I'm gonna put it back here. Get out of my face. I don't want to talk about you. GW, do something about that. That model sucks. All right. So now, as we're taking a look at this tier list, what do you think about where they're at and who do you want to swap? Starting from bottom to top. Anything down here? And then after this, just, chats, we'll look at you guys. So get your comments in right now. Maybe you can convince us, and that can impact the whole entire tier list. So try your best. Now, where do you think about here at the from the bottom? Anything of these things need to get bumped up? I think we're pretty confident that they're trash.
I mean, you can probably put the Hunter rig right behind the Waz boom. I think they're better than the planes.
I think they're better only because I've actually used one for fun. And I've used them for fun because I had to kill Katans and I had to kind of shimmy around those dudes. And I owned the model and I didn't own a battle wagon, or I already had a battle wagon on the list and I didn't have another battle wagon at the time. If you're newer and you have your kill rig and you have to deal with something that you want to run around with 20 units of Snagga boys and you want to pop lethal with Gaz, then he finds play. Other than that, he doesn't find any play. So they'll stay where they're at. Grots. Are these things any mode of operation? You really want Zodgrod to be all the way at the bottom of Grots, dude? What's up?
Who are you taking? I'm taking Gretchin, bro. I'm for sure taking Gretchin over him every time. Badly. Drop him points. I want to take him. I've ran his unit so many times and I've tried it so many times. Come on.
I still think these buggies are worse than him.
Yeah, that's fair.
Slightly. And I would argue the Big Mac could be still worse than him.
All right.
Because the Big Mac doesn't know what he wants to do. At least Zod knows what he's trying to do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, Wortsnagga is out here like, look, I got super runts. I'm scouting. You can't get that nowhere else. Other than to hunt. The freaking Big Mac is like, do I want to fight? Do I want to help you advance and shoot? Do I want to stand back here and shoot? Do I want to advance through walls? Like, he's all over the place. GW kind of missed with his data sheet, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the grots look pretty solid.
Yeah, I think this grot list is. I'm sure I missed anything. It's weird to see the Gorgonaut down here because I really like the Gorgonaut, but so many times I didn't appreciate -1 AP because Armor of Contempt's everywhere, and so many times I didn't appreciate -1 AP in shooting because cover is everywhere.
Yeah. So
I'll leave him here. A lot of stuff have a 4-up invuln, therefore I can't even rely on his crunching capability of damage 6. So I'm gonna leave him right there. As for lads, are Lootas really right here in lads?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I think because you have to put them in under ideal circumstances, and they have to be only played in certain places, and you need to buff them with enhancements and characters, I'm going to put them behind the Gorkanut.
I think, yep, you did it. You did it.
Yeah, I think
there it
that's
is.
better.
That feels better.
Yeah, that feels better.
On to the rest, though.
Because just to finalize the Lootas, the reason why they're down here is because when you bring that Dread Mob list, there's a bunch of different stuff that's going to be sucking up your CP for that point and all the buffs. If you're finding value in them, that is very specific to terrain and matchups and everything. Keep using them. Don't be disheartened by this, but I'm very much leaving them right there. No.
What do you think about Lads?
Lads is one of the more... I actually feel kind of confident in Lads, to be honest. A lot of these things are really just dependent on one, possibly two detachments, but it hasn't been proven at the high level yet.
I think the only mistake is the Warbikers. I think they are proven in every detachment. I think they could go higher, but I'm a slut for trash, dude. I love trash units that skirmish like that. They just play, they kill, they score. And I think the bikes have proven from Index to Codex that they are good enough to play. No, the Warbikers, not the.
I know, but I'm personally.
Oh, you're doing that.
I'm thinking he might go up there because when you do fit him out there for his points, OC, feel no pain. He could be argued, but then again, when I looked at him again, I think it's more like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that fits.
Yeah, I think that fits. As for bikers, I mean, could you really put him above the Painboy and the Mech and the Killa Kanz that are really staples in their enhanced detachment? I could very much not bring Warbikers and just bring Storm Boys and feel pretty good anyways. That's the reason I don't, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you got it there.
Yeah, you get more attacks. You're going to advance in charge. You're going to move through the terrain. You're slightly cheaper. Yeah, I mean, that what they really get
less durable with less OC.
Yeah, you're gonna get, you can tank an Overwatch from your bikers. You can't really tank it from your Storm Boys. Other than that, that's the very close difference. But Storm Boys are up here in A, which means I can't put in bikers higher because I'd rather just bring 2 or 3 units of Storm Boys, and then if I have leftover points or whatever I'm doing, then I'll bring bikers. So I think I'm good with Lads right here.
All right.
Yeah, I think actually Lads are pretty good. There's not as many units in Nobz as I suspected, I would say. But these are kind of the units I feel the most comfortable with putting in Nobz.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Let's see. In chat, just so you know, we're going to take a quick look at you guys in a second, see if one of you guys missed something. We missed something, but I'm feeling pretty good about that. Where Nobz are at, Gaz could pop up here maybe. I think he hasn't been proven to be a staple in Bully Boys, and he's really just a staple in Warhorde.
I think he goes in Bully Boys. We'll see.
Oh, you do?
I do.
I
think there's some weird Bully Boys lists out there that are lots of boys and Snaggas and not just infinite Meganobz and Nobz.
Okay. I gotta see some more of those. I haven't really seen those. So guys, hear that out. Snaggas might be where it's at. So you can take advantage of the lethals from the rerolls to hit. Which is interesting because the Beastboss, right? I would also say Gaz helps make up for things we lack as a book. Taking down stuff that has damage reduction, ow. Taking down high toughness models, ouch. All these different things make it irrelevant, and I think Gaz for that reason is pretty interesting. I can't put him any lower, and I think he might pop his way up to the best just because he really does offset our weaknesses. It's just like into certain armies, like let's say T-Suns, where mitigate your movement, guard, Basilisk, mitigate your movement. Where's Gaz going? What is he doing? You know what I'm saying? So I got to leave him in Nobz because you could choose not to bring him. But we do have 10 gifted Waaaghtaktiks memberships to Wicked Joe. Whoa! If any of you boys out there gray, you better make it okay by becoming a grunt or a grot. Accept those memberships. Join the Great WAAAGH. I appreciate you, Wicked Joe. Very generous of you. and I know you like your kill rigs. Don't listen to Eric. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so
I only say it because I'm sad, man.
no, yeah, you're sad. A lot of people are sad.
I only say it because I'm sad.
Okay. I think for the most part, chat's kind of agreeing with us. For most of the things that we saying, they like Weirdboys where you can be, stuff like that, dedicated transport. Everything feels good. I think most people feel good on where we're at.
Hell yeah.
Nobz, I think, are where they should be. I think it's cool. Beastboss made his way back. You think Beastboss has had a big mech in Mega Armour? Kind of feel like something like that.
Not for now. Yeah, I think that's better.
That's a little better. Because I could argue not bringing a Beastboss, but whenever I bring Meganobz, which are almost always, I have to contemplate him with enhancements, right?
I'm thinking about it.
I'm gonna leave him where he's at. He could be argued to be higher, like right behind Gaz, but I don't think he will stay there long once people actually feel out the index like 2 months from now. I mean the codex 2 months from now. And as for the best, I think that's a pretty good lineup for the best. Maybe Nobz like here. I don't know, but I'll put it like that.
I like that better. Nobz is the Nobz do the work.
Yeah, for sure. Nobz do the work, I would say, but really the best, all of these are interchangeable. Snikrot and Mans are like the only ones that are kind of universal. Well, Warboss too. Snikrot, Mans, Warboss are kind of universal, can go on any data sheet. Any detachment. You can make the arguments.
100%.
And yeah, I think that's actually pretty solid. Let's see what you guys are saying in chat before we close this one out, as we just got over the 2 hour mark, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. And people are saying flash hits are good. Snagga. Oh, I think you're convincing some people that the Beastboss can go on bullies. So I will say I haven't really heard too much about that, so I do like that. Some people are saying the Burna Boyz should go up. I would say where their strength is for that and their lack of AP, there's a bunch of different armies that can do the same thing. And I just think that their Burna Boyz shouldn't go up any higher than they're at. Where they're like down here. I would say I can go ahead and put them above the planes and the hunter rig.
It's not necessarily that burners are bad as much as there is a direct correlation between flash kits doing it better.
Yep. They're multi-purpose models where they'll get in and fight, charge, survive a little bit longer, kill with more chaff, all those things, just a little bit better. So I think Burna Boyz are going to stick here right above the top of runts, and anything else in runts can be argued. Tankbusters, because you're insulting me, I'm going to leave you behind the Painboss. How about that? So you feel comfortable with this before we conclude this tier list, right?
Print it.
Let's print it. All right, printed, seal of approval. This is where we're at. The Waaaghtaktiks tier list. And thank you to Eric Forsman for coming out here. I always appreciate talking to you, whether it's in person or just about on the channel. So
love the show, man. Glad to be here, my brother.
Yeah, I might make a call back to you at some point. So, I might send out the bat signal, the Eric Forsman signal, and see what else you got to say, because your expertise of playing internationally, we'll say, that way people in Europe don't feel like they're being singled out. But playing internationally and teams is actually a bit more of my weak points there. I would say I have a good grasp for the American meta as where they've been going and how tournaments and GTs have been looking as a whole. I've felt very confident there. But when people talk to me about teams or some of the, let's say, UK TC and stuff, I do have a bit more apprehension to giving them advice. So I'm glad that you gave that point of view and you really did take that to mind. So I think between us both, we had a great understanding worldwide of where these things could be and end up. And I think that's also why this ended up being a bit longer than other tier list videos, as we really try to take a time to break down each of these units and what circumstances they would work, what terrain they become optimal, and the exceptions that they may be. So if you disagree, it might be just that contextually that unit that you favor more applies more to you than to the rest of us or the general 40k orc population as a whole. That doesn't make you wrong. That just makes you aware of your own meta, and that's a proper war boss mentality. So Eric Forsman, do you have anything do you want to plug, say, or shout out before we end this?
All the orc communities are the best communities that I'm a part of. Let's go, boys. Let's get it done.
Let's go. And Orks, let's hope that we can get Eric in our Discord. That way you can poke his brain once in a while.
I'll jump in right now.
All right. All right, guys. Let us know what you think. I appreciate y'all greatly. Thank you to anyone who supported this. And if you disagree, get in the comments. Come and argue with me, because there's always one thing to keep in mind is don't cross our wall, because we knock your teeth out. Whoa.
Yeah.